Okay. Actually, I will answer one more question because I keep getting this question and folks are blowing up the support center about it. And I wanted to definitely speak to the situation. And this situation is actually about Terrence Howard and the information that has been out right now on the internet that Terrence Howard has been putting out about his own personal awakening. First and foremost, I wanted to say for any of us that actually go through an awakening process, the eureka moment when it all starts clicking, I really have designed, and I design consistently the way that I do to bring more recognition to those people. Meaning that I would love for if everybody that woke up to get attention. In fact, that was really one of the sole driving reasons why we developed the resistance 10 years ago, was because when I had my awakening, I didn't really find any support. I didn't find like people who were also simultaneously having that kind of awakening. I found a lot of watered down stuff from Mount Shasta. I found a lot of Masonic works. I found a lot of OTO Golden Dawn stuff. But personally, I wasn't able to access things that I felt were really tied into my awakening personally. Also, while there were some out there that were delivering messages, I found them virtually untouchable, meaning that I could not reach them or get in contact with them. This is including like your Jordan Maxwell's and some of the pioneers even of the messages that we're delivering today, that they weren't really accessible. Like even right now, you can talk to me like you would. You can send a message here. I'm going to answer your question. There's ways to interact. You can join ambassador training. Like we're in there live at least 2 to 3 times a week. So that to me is what is the upgrade from the old way. So to speak directly to the question, first of all, what I like to see is I do like to see that if you're regurgitating somebody else's stuff, that you at least say something about them. Like, I got this information, or I came into this awareness because I read or I spoke with. Because what that does is it doesn't allow everybody to believe that you just came into all this knowledge and information. Because when you do that, to be honest, like you can know the difference between when, as an adept especially, or anybody who's even been looking at conscious information for years and years and years, you know whose information is whose. You know when someone's coming up and on some new stuff. Like when I started working with the code of the matrix, when I put the code of the matrix out and I started talking about the words being backwards, everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. That all the word weak means weak, time, men means men's, men means small, like sect means, divide, all this stuff, and I started breaking down all these different words and showing that this stuff's got a whole nother meaning to it. And we haven't considered that. That I felt was, beyond the etymology works that came before me, I felt that it was a very unique insight to how to start working with these words in the 20th century to get them to reveal a story to us. And I've always used that template, and I use it to this very day, in order to break down certain things for me so I can see the connection. And it's become very instrumental to those who are using that technique of dissecting and dissecting the language and utilizing the code of the matrix as a resource on how to do that. Okay. So that means that when someone comes behind me, like a few people did, and actually start repeating that same thing verbatim, and then act like that's their information, it doesn't look as good. You know what I mean? It's cool, I guess, because the information doesn't belong to anybody. It needs to be spread. We all were divinely inspired by it. But it's always great to let people know where the source is of the information that you're getting. So that way they can, what you omitted or what you don't still understand, they can go further and actually understand more about that. And in this case, I feel like personally that Terrence's work is highly inspired by Daniel Winter. Probably less inspired by Stan Tenen, but Stan Tenen is also one of the pioneers of centrifugal, conjugate, waveforms, trifects, and tri-based geometry, all these kind of stuff, implosion, bliss, all of that stuff. That's all Daniel Winter's stuff. And so, to be honest, when I'm hearing him talking, and the other guy that's always in the background who never reveals himself yet, that's all I'm really hearing. Is I'm hearing Dan stuff. And it's great that Terrence has started being able to understand those scientific terms and spit that lingo. But to bring it out like it's exclusive to him and that he's actually just become aware of this only by himself, I think that I'm looking for more recordings to where, and I'm not saying I don't want to say anything negative or positive about people. I'm just observing. Because I'm also watching this whole Kanye West thing and his whole thing. And I also know there's been a change of guard. Remember, we went through just a change of guard. So your spiritual leaders that you're going to be seeing here, even the commercial ones, are going to they're going to shift their skin tones in a minute. But the same deceptions are still there at times. So we just have to always be aware of, okay, what's really happening with energy and what is really being said. Now, also, I would just speak to, again, this knowledge about bliss, implosion, wave forms, conjugate, centrifugal, all those, that knowledge in itself will fly over the head of most that are not connoisseurs of the energetic body, okay? Meaning that even Daniel Winter's work, which is paramount, the heart's ring, and all the different things that he's taught. He even developed applications for this. He's even got spouts that you put on your drain for this. Has still, in retrospect, been not used, not understood, or understood. Like there's small groups that know about it. There's even small groups in Europe, especially, that practice with it and do the breathing techniques and things together. But it confuses a lot of people is what I'm saying. And so what I'm also looking for is since it's 2020 now, and we just came off of 10 years, if not 20 years, of massive levels of data. I want to see some of the $1 million used towards application. I would like to actually challenge Terrence Howard to use these millions of dollars, which I would assume that he has with all these movies that he's made, to actually create the first school online for conscious children and to produce super conscious children, and to also to bring Daniel Winter in to assist with doing that, because he's got so many tools and so much bearing and so much support around that. And I would like to see that flourish. So that's my personal take and opinion on what I see going on, because I know the knowledge, I know what he's saying, and I know the origins. I know that knowledge in itself doesn't just come to you after you smoke some DMT or you take an ayahuasca journey. You need to read the work. And I suspect that the guy that's always talking in the background, I guess his name is Chris or whatever, that he probably put Terrence Howard onto Daniel Winter's work, because he's the only one that uses those words, and it's that type of geometry and every single thing matches. And so that's what I feel about it. So I just wanted to give my opinion and stop emailing me about it. Some people say you need to reach out to Terrence Howard. For me to get in touch with Terrence Howard would be like me trying to get in touch with Jay-Z. Okay, that's another thing. It's like, just because I have a YouTube channel that is now got 111,000 people on it after 10 years, reaching out to these people is very similar to like if you tried to go and call Lil Wayne right now. It's going to be pretty much impossible for you to get a hold of him. So don't ask me to go and find Terrence Howard, because I don't have that ability. I'm sure maybe even somebody on this line may have that ability, but I don't. I can't call these stars and actors, be like, yo, it's Sev. What's good? These people don't call me. These people have not reached out to me, have talked to me in 10 years. 10 years. I have not got an invitation to no radio shows or nothing that you see as mainstream. They are either oblivious to what I'm doing, which is pretty much impossible, or it's something about what I'm doing that they don't like. And so that's just the reality of this. So I trust that as we go forward, as we align ourselves more in the truth, especially the reason why we designed a platform is when we're all together as a collective. First of all, somebody's got to know, and somebody would then bring him into this awareness of things. But even more important, why is everybody waiting on one person to do something? And why, when a star or an actor or somebody that we feel like is like higher does something that somebody that has been doing this all their life has done, like Daniel Winter, why do we still have that thing where we're like, yes, the whole world's going to be saved because Johnny Depp now has spit some conscious words? And it's just like, I feel like that there's a phobia or a program structure that is going on within that, because I would like to really see the people who have been by proof and by action, the pioneers of this kind of knowledge, especially when it comes to geometry and fractals and all that, I would like to see us just as excited about those people's next work and representing and supporting them and seeing them, because that's what support really is. You see what I mean? And so that's my take on it.